Welcome to Pull the Pin Already, War Room Edition. I'm your host, Jim. With me, as usual, is Mike. And today, let's see who's joining us. Are you ready for this, Mike?
Nope.
No?
Nope. One of the worst guest co-hosts, whatever we've ever had. He can't hear me, right?
Who?
He can't hear me, right?
Oh, he can hear you.
Oh, shit. Hey, one of the best guys ever.
And here he is. Now he can respond to you.
Just damn.
Welcome,
Just
Paul.
the satchel of Richards.
Oh, man. Oh, sorry about that. I thought you were muted. I was muted.
I thought I was too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we can't hear you in the lobby, but you can hear us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What's up, fellas?
Hey, what's going on? So what do you guys want to talk about today, Jim?
Well, you know the routine in the War Room, right? We pull a bunch of headlines.
Oh, God.
And we all get to discuss them. Since there's only 3 of us here today, we're all going to take our turns and discuss each topic.
God.
Mike, you can still have the honor of calling on the first person to speak on each topic.
Okay.
So, first topic, first headline, and these are actual headlines. It's not stuff we're just making up. This is stuff we're pulling off, actual headlines.
Oh, God.
And I know we spoke about this somewhat previously in another episode. I don't know if we've already spoken about it yet or it's coming out soon. But in another episode, we've already talked about some of this. And it is how war with China could cripple the U.S.
Oh, God.
Now, if you haven't been on a War Room, Paul, we're not going to be going into long, in-depth rabbit holes because we got plenty of topics. So when Mike calls on you because he has that power, then it will be your turn to speak, and he'll let you speak for a few minutes.
Yeah. I want everybody to see when Jim said that me, Mike, black man, had the power. Did everyone see Paul's reaction? He was like, what the fuck?
Because that's against the dictionary, right? Because then it can't be racism or something if you have power.
Whoa.
So, how a war with China could cripple the U.S.? What are your thoughts on that, Paul?
Well, I think the main thing of it is our economies are so intertwined that it would cause some fairly severe economic hardships for Americans, because if you take a jauntily stroll through the aisles of Walmart and pick up and look at the labels of where pretty much everything but our produce is made, that's going to go away for cheap. So I think we can talk tactically about it all day long, but I think how it's going to affect the mainstream American person is going to be economically. Inexpensive goods are not going to be available.
I agree. Now, would you say that's going to impact them as well economically because we're not buying or purchasing such goods?
Absolutely, it will. But if you look at their economic activity over the last 20 years, really, since the end of Clinton came on there, they have really expanded their markets beyond just America. They're all over the Asiatic Rim. People in Vietnam are buying Chinese products in Russia. So they're probably one of the main producers in the world, and that's where prosperity comes from, is from production. So yeah, it'll hurt them, but if you're trying to wage an economic warfare against somebody, I think that they feel probably pretty confident at this point that it would hurt us more than it would hurt them.
Because like you just alluded to, they have expanded. Like you could say the U.S. is their number one customer, so they can afford to lose. If you go to war, they can afford to lose that number one customer because they have, let's say 10, 20 customers like Vietnam and those other locations you just spoke on. What about you, Jim?
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Paul was saying was the financial aspect of it. China has an advantage. They don't have to disseminate their money. They don't have to spread their money through their people. Like we would have people here that would be like, wait a minute. You know, where's our programs? Where's our money? Where's our this? So with China when they go to war or they go to any financial, they just pull their money within and let the people just suffer. They can, like we talked about, they can starve their people. They'll still be making money. And I remember was it Huawei? Was that the company? Huawei was pushing out the electronics because they even had concern that there was security threats with all of the electronics that China was trying to stand up in all these other countries, signing big deals. So not only was it just the financial benefit they were getting, there's a security benefit, because if they are putting chips and electronic devices in these products, there might be something in there we don't know about. So I think they can cripple more than the U.S.
Yeah, I think it will hurt more than it will hurt. It will hurt us more than it will hurt them.
Yeah, and if I could add on real quick to that, like an interesting observation I had, I've done some work in Africa in the last 5 or 6 years, and you're talking post-colonialism in Africa. Well, the European powers kind of left somewhat, and we have this African socialistic experiments that go on in these African countries. But in the meantime, like China has really embedded themselves. Look at the new Silk Road across Africa. They were building the highways in Africa. They were building the ports in Africa. So their market, their portfolio is very diverse. We are a large part of their portfolio, but they can clean us out probably and definitely survive it based upon their African expansion and their expansion in the Asiatic Rim.
Okay. What do you have next there, Jim?
U.S. Air Force is guarding against EMP attacks. Should the rest of us worry?
We just started that?
It's a headline.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Apparently it's important right now.
Yeah, no. I mean, I thought we were. Okay. All right, Paul, what do you got?
I mean, I think surely if you plan strategically and tactically, you should look at every potential threat that you have out there and try and mitigate what you can mitigate. I mean, if you really go down the EMP rabbit hole of what it would do to a society, that could definitely mess a lot of stuff up. So
Yeah,
how do you mitigate that? Yeah. But I would agree with you, Mike. Like, are we just today? We're just thinking about it. I'm pretty positive that the big brains that are within those institutions have been thinking about it since it was originally thought of.
Yeah. I have to agree, because that's where I started to think. Of course, I can't remember, it's so far back, but I thought we were planning against that years ago, even back before I was even in Afghanistan. I'm thinking like back in Germany, but yeah, no, that's not surprising. But it surprises me we have a headline on it saying that.
Be afraid.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just resurfaced because the threat has become more practical. Or maybe there's some link in it, because like the end of the word, the thing that hit me is, should the rest of us worry? So it doesn't really mean that we're not preparing or guarding against it. We may have been guarding against it for the last 10, 15 years.
Correct.
But for someone asked, should the rest of us worry? I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is our electronic dependency. I mean, yeah, I think we should worry, because so many people are so dependent now on electronics. I don't know, COVID just pushed more people into that. So I don't know how people are going to survive if there's ever a serious EMP attack and things get shut down. Look at Texas, right?
Yeah.
And you have the big storm.
Yep.
So. And
what was that? A couple of years ago, Facebook went down and people started calling the police department. Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those funny but true jokes that were going around. People actually called the police department when they couldn't log on to Facebook. Yeah. True story.
Yeah, I think we should worry.
I think we should, but I think it goes to, like we were saying, our dependency on electronics is so huge. I think we should worry about that more so than the actual attack.
Agreed.
You know what I'm saying?
So have a small diesel generator that's primitive and be able to make your own diesel fuel and buy books.
Books.
Yeah.
You mean
Yeah,
like digital
absolutely.
books?
So think about it. How do you get 99% of your information? If you want to learn how to do something today, how do you do it?
YouTube.
YouTube.
You YouTube it. So
Yeah.
the internet is gone.
Yeah.
Go fix shit.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to fix it now, you're fucked.
But
Yeah.
Paul,
Right?
remember like you were talking about average people? I really believe the average people really can't conceive that idea of no internet. Like I really like they freak and my kids freak out if my internet goes out.
Yeah.
I know. This is what I take my kids camp. We do the Appalachian Trail and the section hikes. And I tell people all the time, they're like, go pack all your shit on the back of your back and go walk in the woods for a week, and everything you have, you carry with you. You have a totally different perspective for showers and electronics. And man, I wish I knew this. Like, I'm hungry. Like, you just can't Google that shit.
Yeah. See, that's where I was going with that. Like you say, now we say YouTube it, right? When you want to learn how to fix something or whatever. But before that, if you wanted to know something, or you wanted to know if something was true, you Google it. But it's all about that World Wide Web. Everything is entangled in it. And once you
how did we do it? How did we do it, guys? Y'all, we're all about the same age. How did we do it before the internet?
a library.
Yeah, so you either had to find somebody who knew the information, or you went to the library. And so when you went to the library, what'd you have to do? You had to know the freaking Dewey Decimal System and shit. Go to the card catalog, try and take a stab at looking at what you got to do. Go find the book, read the entire freaking book, 4, 5, 6 of them to find the one answer. Now we just Google that shit in.
Yeah.
So my point of all that, though, is our generation values knowledge more than today's generation, right? They talk about like ignorance is just a matter of a lack to access of information. Today there has been easier access to. I have all of the world's knowledge in my hand if I look hard enough for it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and so these kids today, they have all this information, access to this information, and they don't appreciate it.
Right.
I think that there's people now, we're like the last generation that had to go work to find information, and we really appreciate the access that we have, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's getting to the point where even like questions on schoolwork, you can just Google the question and you don't even have to look up the answer because it pops right up.
Dude, they're doing that with math problems now. You can just hold your phone over it and it'll solve it for them. Yeah,
but
you haven't seen that?
But think about it logically, though. So there's two ways to think about it. In the presence of that type of technology, why wouldn't I utilize it?
Sure.
We think about in the absence of that technology because we grew up in the absence of that technology. So we appreciate the process of finding the information and learning and solving the problem more than our kids do.
But to me, the greatest example of that is land navigation. Like we had to learn what a compass and this stuff. We had to learn all that stuff. Now they take a plugger and they boop, boop, where am I? You know what I mean? Like in reality, we're talking about EMP. EMP goes out. You don't have the knowledge. It's not even about looking anymore. You need to know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm about 40 paces away from an old Lensatic compass. I'm serious. Like this is a discussion we had too. So, like when I go hiking with my kids, I buy topographical maps and do it. And they're like, "Dad, you get your phone, okay?"
Right.
The mountains, and all of a sudden they're like, "You ain't got a fucking signal."
Yeah.
They're like, "Where the fuck are we?" Like, I know exactly where.
Where are you? I'll wait.
So I teach those skills to my kids. Like land nav is like one of those things it's cathartic for me to do. Like, because I've had people teach me how to do it really well. It's just because the organizations that I've been in, it was a really super valuable skill, and I had people that could teach it really well. And that's like one of the things I like to teach my kids. That's why I garden with my kids. What are you going to do when Walmart goes away? How are you going to feed yourself? You know, I mean, these are skills that we're losing because of technology. Doesn't mean technology is bad. It makes it easier. But there's an appreciation and a loss of that knowledge that
Yeah.
We're kind of jacked up in the next generation if we have an EMP, and we lose all that ability. So I have books.
Right.
Anyway,
So-
next headline.
Yeah, I was just saying,
Yeah.
do we want to move on because we were just going.
We
Nah,
talked
it's
about
good
rabbit
though.
holes.
It's good.
Yeah. All right. The next one. Under cover of darkness, Fed bus migrant children into West Texas town.
Never happened. I'm here in Texas. He said West Texas. Never mind.
I was just saying, Mike counts soldiers coming off the planes from Afghanistan and children being bussed into West Texas. You are a busy man.
Yeah. I mean, haven't they busted children into Texas? It wasn't always in the cover of darkness, right? They did it in the daytime. Everybody knew what was going on. So I don't know why that's a headline. Well, I do know why it's a headline because they're doing what they do best. They trying to sensationalize.
No, that's the point.
What's the point?
That's totally the point. Is look at how shitty Orange Man Bad did with handling massive amounts of people that are coming into the country. They're just pointing out, like, hey, you guys were like jumping up and down, blah, 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 blah. And now you're relatively silent. Of course, the mainstream media has actually been going like, hey, you got an issue. And then why do you have an issue? Because when you say, hey, we're just going to come on in, why wouldn't they? You're this whole thing, you're seeing two diametrically opposed ideologies to the immigration issue collide on this. And you can't blame it on Trump anymore. It's gotten worse, and you're ignoring it.
Yeah, but who suffers?
Yeah, but what do you mean we're ignoring it though?
You are ignoring it. Why? I mean, what has he done to address it? Well, actually, I had a little CNN thing flash over my phone on there that the House had done an immigration reform. I have no clue what that means as of this moment. It came across like 2 hours ago. Do you not have an issue? You have a larger influx now trying to come into the country. Why?
Because that's what he wants,
Okay, why?
to establish a larger voting base.
Okay, so that's kind of fucked up, right? So you're going to take.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
But
right. I mean, so that's all that this is. It's the media now trying to like point it out.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Like you
Yeah.
talk shit all of this time about how they're putting them in cages, and then you go like, well, the cages happened underneath the Obama administration. We're like, we're going to ignore it. We'll put little, sheets behind in front of the cages between the beds and put little colored polka dots on it, and it's not somehow the same. You have an issue that you have to address, and it's not being addressed. It's actually being ignored. I would think, and I'm going to agree with your statement, that it's done just to increase its voter base.
Right.
But who pays for that?
Everyone on this show.
Everybody that's already here. And I'm not trying to be nationalistic, right? Because we can sit here and have border arguments all day long. But you already have people that are here. We have an ideal. Why are we just going to open it up to a bunch of people, the majority of them low-skilled workers, to come in here and compete against the unemployed in America, which are low-skilled workers for the most part, right? Or unexperienced workers for the most part, that they're unemployed. Why do we want to bring these people in? And then who pays for this? Everybody else that's already working.
I think Texas gets hit first.
Well, I do have to say, I watched an interview with our governor the other day. It's like, hey, the federal government is failing to do this, and I'm nationalizing the National Guard here in the Texas state police, the troopers or whatever they have there, Texas Rangers, all that other bullshit, to go do something about it. I mean, again, we can have the argument of borders all day long if you want to get even philosophical, but we can't, in the presence of a welfare state, we can't do this. And all it does is further entrench them into power. So I think this is the other side, like pointing it out. Hey, this is hard work. You can't blame Orange Man Bad anymore. And now the shit's getting worse. And why is it getting worse? And hopefully it asks those questions.
You know, what's interesting, like Mike was talking about for the votes, I discovered that the last time they brought up legislation like this, a Republican tried to put in some counter or additional whatever amendment to the legislation saying that, okay, we'll accept this as long as we make it so that no one can vote for 10 years. And they shot it down. So we'll let these people come in, but they're not allowed to vote for 10 years. So they're trying to act like it's some humanitarian thing. And then when they get called on it, now all of a sudden, no, we don't want that. Because it is what Mike said. It's for votes. It's not humanitarian. It's not, just call it as it is.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. You have another headline?
I do. China Z tells his army to get combat ready.
And
Bam.
tell Z, I said, shut the heck up. Those guys are always combat ready. All they do is train. They've always been combat ready. But combat with who? Oh, the U.S. Okay. I just don't see it. I don't see it. Or maybe they might have some like when you guys were talking about Taiwan, they might get some resistance there if they want to go over there. But I'm like, okay. I just don't see it, man. And if I'm wrong, you know me, I'll call it like I see it. But I just don't see a war with China on the horizon. Paul? Oh, sorry, Jim.
No, I just want to jump real quick because my son, I told you, is like this history. But he loves history. I'm not a history buff, so I'm just gonna stand down when you guys start talking about this stuff. But what I found interesting is a lot of the history I've watched. Japan spent a lot of time invading China, so it would surprise me. Maybe I don't know enough about current day Japan, but it would surprise me that like Japan wouldn't have anything to say about any of that stuff.
Ooh, and that's an interesting twist in the whole plot because our post World War II agreements with Japan, we've allowed really no military for them other than kind of a national defense force. We've limited what their capability to respond would be. So that'd be an interesting play. But I think that there probably will be a test of the Biden-Harris administration by China by increasing aggression or bellicosity towards Taiwan. But how much of this too is just, hey, just be afraid of something? And again, I'm going to agree with you. With my first thought too, like Mike, when you said was like, who has a serious military force that isn't combat ready? That seems, hey, we got this big old army. Like, okay, hey guys, in the next 8 or 10 months, you need to be like ready for combat. Isn't that kind of the premise to be ready for it at all times? I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't forget, we do have the Guam National Guard.
Hey,
they deliver donuts.
Soldiers, right?
I'm just saying, we still have them. They're on our side.
Yeah. You have another headline, man.
I sure do. North Dakota man says condo association threatens $200 daily fines over American flag noise.
You talking about the?
I assume that's it.
Wow. Must be some high winds. What does he have, a garrison flag up there, much?
One metal clip, one metal pole. That's all it takes.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking. Oh, that's probably what it is. The clip hitting the pole.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. Ah, man, I don't know about that one. Well, he could wrap, like put a rubber ball or like what do you do?
Tape on it.
Yeah, tape or a tennis ball or something. It's I don't know.
Okay, so let me interject this real quick. North Dakota man says condo association threats $200 a day daily fine over ISIS flag noise.
ISIS.
That's not this headline, but
Daily fines over North American Man Boy Love Association flag noise.
You asking would that
the
change
American
it?
flag stuff out of it because it's just there to be emotional, right? So the noise thing. Okay.
Yeah, it's just $200 daily fines.
Man says condo association that he voluntarily agreed to be under their rule when he bought his house threatens $200 daily fine over noise.
That's it.
So
Yeah.
that's the way I look at it.
And I do want to look at that, but I've seen other headlines.
Nobody held a gun to your head to join an HOA. Man, you got to.
I have seen other headlines though, and I'm going to argue that HOA thing. So give me a second to get to that. I have seen headlines about stuff like that, about American flags being offensive to other people and stuff like that. But I'm not even going to entertain that because I agree with you. This shouldn't even be about the American flag. But I will address your nobody HOA nonsense because I'm getting tired of people saying this stuff. You try moving to a state with a good school district where everybody's moving and you get told the HOA is optional, show up at the table and they put a piece of paper in your face and say, oh, now that you're closing, here is the HOA that you gotta buy into. I thought it was optional. No, I don't know who told you that's not optional. So somebody does get into an HOA that didn't want to be an HOA. And he's on the show.
No.
So no, that's BS. That's a contractual obligation. Show me where I signed it. Because if I didn't sign that agreement ain't shit. Right? If it ain't in writing, that's the whole beauty of contracts. Doesn't mean shit.
You can't close unless you sign it.
I went to no. What happens is I went to closing, and that thing is a hour long of some asshole attorney sitting over there with 50,000 pages of shit in fine print that they're getting me to sign, and I just sign the shit and get out of there. And then they come back and you're like,
No, he told me.
Well, man,
he told me what it was.
I agree, it's bullshit. But when you sign it, you did that voluntarily.
Yes, I've accepted it.
Contracts. That's it.
I accepted, but I didn't buy into an HOA with the intention of being an HOA.
Yes,
I accepted the fact that I'm in an HOA because my other options were terrible.
But you accepted it.
Because my other options were terrible.
You accept. I don't care what the reason. I don't care if you stubbed your toe. You know.
The statement was that we're buying into the. I didn't buy into the HOA. I got to the point where I had to accept it.
No, you didn't. You didn't have to.
No, you're correct. I chose to accept it because the other options were terrible.
So that's it. So
yes.
Now, since your other options were so terrible, is I can't have ding, 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 ding on the fucking flagpole all night long, driving my neighbors fucking crazy, and they go, hey, stop that shit. And you're like, America, I'm going to fly my fucking flag. You're not going to tell me. Meanwhile, your neighbors are ding, 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 ding all the time, and you're the obnoxious asshole.
Let me ask a question. Do either of you live in HOA?
Yes.
No. You know what? I was like, fucking HOA.
Yeah,
I have
exactly.
I have a covenant in my neighborhood, but I don't have an HOA.
So what bugs me,
like you can't have trucks in the front yard on blocks. You know, it's like normal shit.
Yeah.
You can't have 10 shacks out back, but like I'm allowed livestock. Yeah, I sign. Okay, I can't have more than 6 head of livestock on my. Okay, I willingly sign that.
Because you don't have livestock?
No, because I accepted the terms of the covenants. I didn't.
Right.
I shied away from a place that there's like a committee of, and then you got Karen, who's the head of the HOA over there, and she's coming around and ransacking your shit because when she drives by your house every single day, she can see 6 inches of your trash can sticking out from behind your house.
Right.
Yeah.
So what if I put my trailer up in my yard? I got to tow my motor. I didn't want all that bullshit.
Yeah.
And
I didn't either. That was my point.
Right.
I didn't want it either.
Voluntary arrangement.
Yeah, you can say that. Sure. So I voluntarily got a bid on a house that 5 other people bid on, and then was told in the beginning I didn't have an HOA, and then I'm at the table after I moved all my stuff to the state. Sure. At the end of the day, you're right. I absolutely signed it because I knew if I didn't sign it, I wouldn't have a home. I'd have nowhere to live. I already moved to the state. So I said, I'll deal with it. So I didn't choose this place because of an HOA. I didn't accept this place for an HOA. I chose to sign the paperwork despite its being an HOA because my other options completely sucked.
Understandable. 100%.
So I'm not removing myself from signing the paper. I'm saying I hate when people say, well, you bought an HOA, you agreed to it. Well, I didn't really agree to it. I agreed to sign for it. So that would, to me, would be consent. I said, okay, I will consent to it. I didn't agree to it. I don't want any part of it, but I had to consent to it. I don't see it the same way.
So, or, so as you stand today, you have no other options. So you fulfilled the immediate need of Maslow's hierarchy, and I got. You probably have equity in your home, I'm going to presume.
Sure.
If
Where do I
it
go?
bothered you that much, is there any other options that you have?
Oh, let me explain to you, Paul. I don't have many. The stuff behind me. This is the only stuff hanging in my house. I've been here for almost 2 years. I have boxes not unpacked yet. Packed yet. I have things not on the wall because I had buyer's remorse because of this HOA thing. This is the best school in the area. That's why I wanted my children to go to this school.
Yeah, I totally
was
understand
banking. I was banking my entire existence in this neighborhood on that high school, and COVID took the entire year away. So I don't even know if the high school's good.
Wow.
So I have not unpacked because I am willing to leave if there's a better option. But you don't just pick up 2 kids and a dog on your own with a whim because of an HOA.
You're right.
I'd sooner find a way to change the rules.
I agree with you 100%. And on that note, I will say you agreed to the HOA. Next headline.
Ultimately, I did.
But hey, so do you have? I mean, what's the issue? Is it your flagpole that's going ding ding?
No, it's a trailer. I don't know if I should be saying this because maybe they're watching. Karen might be watching this. I have a trailer that none of my neighbors have a problem with. It's a new one. It's a small 6x10. It looks pristine. None of my neighbors have a problem with it. But somebody drives by in their little Karen car and takes pictures and says, you got to move it. They don't offer any options. There's nowhere to take it. So again, I have to make a choice. Find 60, 70 bucks in my budget to park it when it has stuff in it at some place. Or I keep playing the game of the HOA thing. Won't fit in my garage. Can't get it through the gate in the backyard. I don't have a lot of options. I could sell it. Sure, I could. And then buy it again when I need it.
Okay, so here would be my recommendation. Attempt a
Yes.
democratic process, right? So you have all people that are in your neighborhood are in that HOA. I'm willing to bet, hey, this is a majority rules principle. Like nobody here has a problem with it except for one person. So, hey, who's in charge of your HOA? Like, have a set of stones and tell Karen to just keep driving.
We've done this. I've done this. Like I said, I've done this part.
I've heard this so many times, dude. That's why I'm just like, that's why I wouldn't.
Well, they backed off. They make it where you have to get 2/3 to vote or something, and then the problem is we have like 520 houses, and we have a meeting, and 30 people show up. So I'm going to get 2/3 of the vote to change a rule when I can't even get 1% to show up.
You only got to get 20 people. That means you only got to get 20 people to show up. Like that's easy.
No, 2/3 of 520.
No, wait a minute. You have no quorum there. Like you don't show up on voting day. Like doesn't matter if 30 people show up and 2/3 of that's 20 people.
No, that's not how they work it.
I mean, what do they have, like a ballot system or something? Do we have like
when you're voting?
ballots?
When you're voting, yes, that is
Dominion
the process. We just had a vote. And it took them 2 weeks to get all the votes counted, all 30 of them. And now they didn't reach quorum, so now they're going to have another vote.
Wow.
That's how it works with voting. But to change a rule, no, you need 2/3 of 520 people.
Wow.
So they make it impossible. And those rules were written back when this was established by people who didn't even live here. This is a race community. So if there's people out here who have race cars and they don't have a garage, sorry. And here's the kicker too, Paul. Here's the kicker. There is a handful of homes in this community. And when I say handful, I think at least 20, 30 homes who are not even in the HOA. So the letter of the law now is obsolete because what are you going to tell me? My trailer degrades the value of the house? No. The guy down the street who has no HOA, who has an RV parked in his lot does. You know what I mean? Like, are you serious? So it's really all about a Karen thing. Because if somebody complained about it, if like the flag, for example, if somebody complained about the flag, I would do exactly like you said. I would find a way to make it not a nuisance. No one's complained about my trailer.
Right.
No one. Even my neighbors, I asked them, I said, is there a problem with it? No. No. There's no problem with it. So it's the Karens aggressively trying to enforce rules that were made 30 years ago that I really didn't want to join.
But you did.
I did. So now I have to find a solution.
Yeah.
and I'm searching. I'm looking for people who would offer to put my trailer on somebody's lot.
You can put
I
it
mean,
on mine.
huh?
You can put it on mine.
Yeah, that's a long drive to get my trailer.
So,
So,
can we
anyways,
pull the pin on that headline?
yeah, we could have a whole thing on HOAs. I don't know why we. All right, next one.
Because it's personal.
Yes, Tennessee man leaves $5 million to dog in his will. She's a good girl.
I'll let you guys have that one. I just can't. I will say this. It's his money. He can do with it whatever he wants. But I totally disagree with it, but it doesn't matter. You know, it's his money.
I don't even think it's legal.
Well, I agree with you on principle, but like, they're gonna take $5 million, and I mean, how does this work? You write a $5 million check and like you just give it to the dog, or I mean, again, I agree with you in principle. Like, you should be able to do with your money whatever you want
Right.
to do with it. Like, how does that function out? I'm sure there's a lawyer that's out there being the executor of that will and being a good steward of that $5 million for Sadie.
Yeah, just put him up. You know, he's probably left it in some trust fund for a group or whatever to take care of his. I don't know.
Right.
But it's like what I always say, man. When people care more about animals than they do humans, I'm like, wow.
Right?
No
Why
family.
wouldn't he just donate to some pet fund and make sure his dog is taken care of part of the donation? Like,
yeah, $5 million. They'll treat him like her, like king or queen. You know, but
right?
yeah, wow.
But hold on, Mike. I know dogs that treat humans way better than humans treat humans.
Sure.
That's true. Yeah,
It's probably a given, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, so it shouldn't be dumb. I understand what you're trying to say about what you're trying to say there, but why shouldn't that be able to go both ways? Because my dogs, you know, I get some really unconditional love from my dogs that I don't get from people. So anyway, I digress.
It could be. It could. The reason for that could be because of the groups you're in.
Yeah, and furries don't count. You can't dress up as a furry and then act like that's a dog. That doesn't count. And I would argue, you know, I love dogs. I went to canine school. I would still argue that is unconditional love.
Oh yeah.
Because for one, dogs have such a short memory span. It's not like there's any conditions or no conditions on it. They're just really excited because they forgot they saw you last.
Yeah, yeah.
Take your wife and your dog and put them in your trunk and drive around on a country road real hard, aggressive for about 2.5 hours, and then open the trunk up and see which one's really happy to see you. You'll know which one's your best friend.
Next headline.
I'm not going to contest that. Let's move to the last one here. North Carolina firefighters dispatched to restaurant discover it isn't on fire, just making 10,000 wings.
Who called that one in?
That's what I was going to ask. Who is the Karen that said, I see smoke?
Yeah.
But then again, in all fairness, we don't know how far away they were either.
Yeah, yeah, but that's...
Wow. Well, I will tell you of a story of an old lady that called 911, get the fire trucks out here. Like the whole valley down there is on fire. It's just glowing. We sent like the whole county's resources out there, and the fire chief gets out there and starts canceling people because they had a fully involved sunset. Sunset was dark, but you had this orange glow over the top of the horizon there, and she thought the valley was on fire. True story.
Wow.
Fully involved sunset. So when you see
were the firemen able to put it out?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the next day.
Just wait 10 minutes.
Yeah, 10
All right, so obviously that was the last question. We're coming to the end, but usually in the last question, we're going to do our COVID update.
Yeah, yeah. So
who's got a COVID update?
Paul. Did you get your shot, Paul?
I identify as being vaccinated.
Got it. I got mine scheduled. Mine is scheduled for 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, mine's scheduled for 6 years, I think. What is the time frame to see the results? 6 years, I think.
I want to know, are they gonna have to do a COVID shot every year like they used to have to do the flu shot? Anyone know?
Oh, you mean the one that worked 10% of the time?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if they're gonna have to do this every year.
Well, is that with the same shots or after the recalls?
No, I'm just talking about like you get a COVID shot, your vaccination now. Do you have to get it next year?
Is that the original one or the new mutated one we should be afraid of?
Well, it's not a mutation; it's just a different variant.
What's your immuno coverage time frame? Do we have any clue? Because it skipped, it pushed all the way through the normal trials, which we can argue FDA trials all day long, but that was the whole emergency order is don't really worry about testing it like you put it under the normal standardized scrutiny of just get something out there. So I don't know what that time frame is because that normal process takes a long time a lot of times. Now I'm not arguing that it's an efficient means and that the bureaucracy doesn't need to be shaved, however. So I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I think there's just way too many questions out there to be answered at the moment.
But as long as all three of us are vaccinated, I feel good.
I mean, here's the way I look at it with all of that. Like, if you feel that you have a threat to you and you feel that masks work, like, wear them.
Right.
Like, I'll show up on my freaking M19 Pro mask up in that bitch. And, like, when I get on an airplane, that's what I want to wear. I want to wear my Pro mask.
Yeah, Mike, the Zorro one's not the same.
Say again?
Mike's Zorro mask doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, so if be an adult, be responsible for it, take the precautions that you feel you need to take for yourself, and presume that everybody else that's walking around is infected and an asshole at the same time, and you'll be okay.
Right. I've even taken a step further.
Go get vaccines.
I take it a step further. I don't believe the masks work like they say that. I don't, but I wear them. If somebody wants me to wear it in their store, I wear it. But I also don't want somebody coming up and giving me crap because I'm not wearing it. Like, that's ridiculous.
Well, I kind of revel in it. This is like the first time in my adult life, or even my juvenile life, but really my adult life, that I can show up in a store armed with a bandana over my face and the cops not be involved.
Right.
Normally, like, there's a real big problem when that happens pre-COVID, so that's cool.
Did you not hear that? Like, I saw that one of my sheriff's updates, they were talking about that it's actually against the law. There's some law that says you can't wear a mask when you're carrying concealed. I don't know if that's just locally, but you can't cover your face when you're carrying concealed.
It sounds like that would be a state law issue.
Yeah, but I didn't even check the validity of it, but I thought it was a really interesting argument.
Yeah, it is. When you get your concealed carry permit in some states, they say that.
So we're breaking the law by creating a new law.
Yeah, under, you have some mitigating circumstances there.
Always obey.
So you guys ready to pull the pin?
Yeah, this one's just going to pull the pin. So all we're going to do is bump Paul back out to the waiting room if he'd like to stay while we close the show. But before he goes, we just want to thank you, Paul, for showing up.
Thanks for having me, brothers.
Thanks for your input.
Thanks a lot, Paul.
Feel free to wait in the waiting room while we close out the show and stay for the after party, or you can take off, whatever you want. But hang tight. And since Mike is got nobody to interrupt me with, I'm going to go ahead and close the show. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed at least what we have here. I hope you guys get involved. Pullthepinalready.com. As you can see, we need some more participation. We want you guys to come on here. If you're nervous or afraid of being on camera, don't worry. We are too. I mean, look at us. Until the next time, Godspeed.
And pull the pin.
Thanks for joining us here. Pull the Pin Already. We hope you had as much fun as we did. If you like what we do, go ahead and hit that like button and share this video with a friend. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell button so you don't miss out on any of our future episodes. But most importantly, leave a comment below. Let us know if you agree or disagree with our opinions. Hope to see you here next time on Pull the Pin Already.